Power Apps interview questions and answers. 1. What is Power Apps? Answer. Power Apps is a low-code platform from Microsoft that allows users to create custom business applications. It enables users to build apps for various platforms, web, mobile, or tablet, without needing advanced coding skills. It provides templates and drag-and-drop features to make app development faster and more accessible. Power Apps integrates seamlessly with other Microsoft tools like SharePoint, Excel, and Dataverse. 2. What is the difference between Canvas apps and model-driven apps in Power Apps? Answer. Canvas apps. These apps provide a high degree of customization. You design the app's user interface from scratch by dragging and dropping controls like buttons, text inputs, and galleries on a blank canvas. It's great for creating custom UIs and apps where you have complete control over the design and user experience. Model-driven apps. These apps are data-driven and are based on the structure of the data model in Dataverse. The user interface is auto-generated based on the data model and relationships, which makes it ideal for apps that require heavy data management, like CRM or other complex business applications. 3. What is the Dataverse in Power Apps? Answer. Dataverse is a cloud-based data platform that is part of the Power Platform. It is designed to securely store and manage data used by business applications. It provides a unified and scalable way to store business data and enables seamless integration with Power Apps, Power Automate, and other Microsoft services. Dataverse allows you to work with data without worrying about the complexity of database management, as it handles the data model, relationships, and security for you. 4. How can you share a Power App with others? Answer. You can share a Power App by following these steps. Open the Power App you want to share. Click on File and then Share. Enter the email addresses of the users you want to share the app with. Select whether you want the users to have access to the app with either user or co-owner permissions. Click Share to finalize. The users you share the app with will receive an email with a link to the app, and they can use it based on the permissions you've provided. 5. What is the Power App Studio and its use? Answer. Power App Studio is the development environment for creating and managing apps. It is where you design and build apps, whether they are Canvas apps or model-driven apps. It provides a drag-and-drop interface to add controls like buttons, text fields, and forms, and allows you to configure the app's logic using formulas, similar to Excel formulas. You can test and preview apps in real time within Power Apps Studio, making it a key tool for app creation. Power Automate interview questions and answers. 1. What is Power Automate? Answer. Power Automate is a cloud-based service from Microsoft that allows users to automate workflows between apps and services. It helps automate repetitive tasks and processes, such as sending notifications, collecting data, or syncing files. Power Automate uses triggers and actions to define workflows, allowing integration with services like SharePoint, OneDrive, Outlook, and even third-party applications. 2. What are the different types of flows in Power Automate? Answer. There are several types of flows in Power Automate. Automated flows. These flows are triggered by specific events, such as receiving an email or a new item being added to a SharePoint list. Button flows. These are triggered manually by the user with a click of a button, either from the Power Automate mobile app or website. Scheduled flows. These flows are triggered at a specific time or interval, e.g. every day at 9 a.m. Business process flows. These are designed to guide users through a multi-step process, ensuring consistent data entry across the organization. 3. How do you handle errors in Power Automate flows? Answer. In Power Automate, errors can be handled using scope actions and configure run after settings. Here are some options to manage errors. Configure run. After, you can configure actions to run after a previous action succeeds, fails, or is skipped, which helps in building conditional logic to handle errors. Scope action. The scope action groups several actions together. You can define conditions on the scope to handle success or failure at a group level. Terminate action. The terminate action can be used to stop the flow and specify whether the flow should end in success, failure, or canceled state. This is helpful when an error occurs and you want to stop the flow early. 4. What is a trigger in Power Automate? Answer. A trigger is an event that initiates the execution of a flow in Power Automate. Triggers can be based on actions like receiving an email, adding a new record to a SharePoint list, or even when a specific time arrives. Once the trigger occurs, the associated flow will begin to execute its predefined actions automatically. 5. How can you integrate Power Automate with Power Apps? Answer. Power Automate can be integrated with Power Apps in several ways. Triggering a flow from Power Apps. You can create a flow in Power Automate and then call that flow from a Power App, allowing users to trigger automation from within the app, e.g., submitting a form or processing data. Returning data from Power Automate to Power Apps. You can also send data back to a Power App from a flow. For example, after a flow processes data, you can return the results to the Power App for display. This integration enhances Power Apps by automating tasks that would otherwise need manual intervention. General questions for Power Apps and Power Automate. 1. What are connectors in Power Apps and Power Automate? Answer. Connectors are pre-built integrations that allow Power Apps and Power Automate to interact with external services. For example, you can use connectors to integrate with services like SharePoint, OneDrive, Twitter, Salesforce, and many others. These connectors provide a way to retrieve, update, and manipulate data between apps without having to build custom integrations. 2. What are some best practices when building apps and flows in Power Apps and Power Automate? Answer. Use variables efficiently. Store reusable data in variables to avoid repetitive calculations. Optimize performance. Keep app and flow designs efficient by avoiding unnecessary complex logic. Use delegation in Power Apps to handle large data sets. Error handling. Always include error handling in Power. Automate flows using configure run after and ensure that all possible errors are addressed. Security. Secure your apps and flows by setting proper permissions and following best practices in data governance. 3. How do Power Apps and Power Automate work together? Answer. Power Apps and Power Automate are highly integrated. Power Apps can be used to build the front-end interface for users, while Power Automate handles the back-end processes. For example, a user can submit a form in a Power App, and a Power Automate flow can automatically trigger to send an approval email, update a SharePoint list, and store the data in Dataverse. Together, they enable low-code automation and app development for businesses. This set of interview questions and answers covers key concepts related to Power Apps and Power Automate, providing a solid foundation for interviews or assessments related to these tools.